Well, it says recording in progress, and that means that we're not going out live yet again, Trina, on today. But what it also means is that we're able to join our very good friend in Nairobi, and I'll let you introduce her in a few seconds. But first of all, I understand that you've had an exciting week as well. So why don't you preview the show that we have, the very special show that we have for this week, Trina? It's all yours.
Well, we're specializing on at least the first episode about composting, a very important thing, which we'll get to. But uh, I've been having so many wonderful things happening. And I also want to say that this in the United States is Memorial Day. It's a time to remember everybody who has gone before us, past their big cocoon into the heavens, and hopefully are in the arms of a loving God. Okay, that's Memorial Day. It's also a day that a lot of thought is given about people who die in war. And I want to just say that this is the moment I want to reemphasize that we really should be giving up war. War doesn't do any good for anybody. The victors so here's a few of my peace posters. You've seen them before, perhaps. And I'm just going to hold them up as best I can. Is this coming through right, or is it reversed, Scott?
It's coming through just fine, but it's pretty big. But what in post-production, what I'll do is I'll put the full size of the poster up as well. So
you have those.
Can I have those pictures? So you can't show some of these posters and get away without talking a little bit about your background and how you made the posters and when maybe
well,
they were
okay.
first made.
These posters were made and we've got them printed because you are at a peace demonstration for the sake of the people watching, not just the people that you're marching with. You want the people to see it. And so right behind me is the first one I ever did in a civil rights demonstration. That's the famous one that says together there. It didn't have the word on it at that time, but in 1963 was my first time I ever went to a march. And first of all, I went to the UN flag being raised in Cincinnati. I was at Grailville, about 20 miles away. It's the first time we ever did anything from Grailville like that. And so we went in, and the mayor was supposed to come and do it before any of the protesters of the John Birch Society would be showing up. But he didn't show right then. So we were wandering around. I had no signs, no buttons, no nothing. And then this group of women came in, and the women came in with this very huge banner, like 8 feet wide or 10 feet wide. And it said, "This is the only flag to which we pay allegiance." And I had my picture taken in front of that flag with no sign of where I stood on this. I wasn't standing for this kind of a thing. I was standing for world peace. And so a few weeks later, there was the Civil Rights March in Cincinnati, and I was teaching a class, and we used white paper, and we were given a big batch of black cardboard. So we used white paper and paint, and we made piano keys. We made everything where black and white was important together, tic-tac-toe. And then I did my famous sign that you see behind me there, the two hands. You take one hand away and the other doesn't exist. That's what's special about that particular image. But this is also the time we're heading up to another awful commemoration of Hiroshima. It's No More Hiroshimas is one of my famous signs that I did for the UN anti-nuclear marches. And we seem to be playing around with that as though you can have a little nuclear war. Well, you can't have a nuclear war. You get nuclear winter, and all living things are pretty well destroyed. It's not a thing to be playing with or to be building up. So all the kind of ways that we have to learn to live together and is so important today. And we work for peace and justice. And that means the environment too, which is the main focus of our work today, because we're going to show this wonderful video that Sarah from Kenya is going to show of her at her mother's for a few weeks where she took some of these pictures. And her mother's in the background and Sarah's in the front building a compost pile. And Trina is going to chime in with her method of composting. So we're going to have two methods of composting, one from Kenya and one from the US. And we probably will do another thing on composting because it's so important. What we have to do as humans is just gather things together, carbon things and nitrogen things. Those are the primary things that organic stuff has. And we have billions of little microorganisms that are just eager to eat that stuff up and form a fertilizer for the next generation of life. We do not need chemical fertilizers. We can do things with pesticides too by planting marigolds and other kinds of wonderful plants and companion planting. There's a lot of things we can do where we don't need to poison our land and our soil and our water and ourselves and raise good food. So let's roll it. And Sarah's going.
Before we roll it, I'm anxious for you to formally greet and welcome our good friend Sarah.
Oh, I didn't welcome her properly?
Well, I think we could do a better job. We could say hi to her and find out how she's doing. Hi,
Sarah, go for it.
Our show.
Scott's a person too.
Okay. Thank you very much, Scott and Trina. I'm very fine. I'm healthy. And my environment in my house is okay today. Last time I was a bit unwell, but today I'm very strong. And I'm happy to be with you again in this show. And I'm also happy that we are building a small community for both of us, despite the distance between, but at least this virtual space is uniting us in a very special way. And I really appreciate that. So I'm happy to be in the show again. And maybe just to say something about what Trina said, we are losing peace, yet it's the most important thing that we should have in the world. Everybody wants to stay in a peaceful environment, and that is what we should work for. But it seems like it's becoming something very rare to get in our environments today because we wake up to hearing people fighting, people dying, so many bad things happening in our communities, and it's distracting our peace. It feels so bad when you don't have a peaceful environment because it kills your hope. And it might actually make you feel like the world is a bad place to live in. Yet it should be a good place to live in because it's what God has given us. And now that God has given us this opportunity and to live in a peaceful, a beautiful environment, we should create more peace and live in peace. Like you can see, that is my village, my countryside. That is me with my mother. And what we are trying to do is to come up with compost manure. And let me say it's a mixture of farmyard and compost manure. So the first thing you have to ensure, or we ensure that we have, is that the material, and these materials don't come from far. These are just the materials, the things that we have within our compound. Like you can see, those are leaves. Some of them are branches, just from the trees that we pruned from our compound. And we also have the leaves that are dropped from the trees. It's part of the material, like what I'm now carrying. That is also the peelings of the beans. So anything that you have in your compound, especially that comes from a plant or animal, can be transformed into very good manure. And so you just use what is available. But what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to like to gather these together and make piles out of these. So like you can see, we started with the branches of the trees, and the branches of the trees are green, and then we are adding the waste from the beans that we had harvested. So we had the first pile for the branches, and then that is the second pile. That second pile is now the dry leaves and the leftovers from the beans, the leaves, the bean leaves. And then we also have the cow dung there. That cow dung is mixed with the chicken waste. So normally we pile it aside. And when we are ready now to process our manure, we can now mix it with other wastes like those leaves and the branches. So maybe I can just say something as you prepare your manure. The first thing you need to make sure that you have is the spot. A good spot where you can put this manure. You don't just process it from anywhere, but you must look for a good place. And it's always recommended that at least you put it under a shade. So as we are putting it under an avocado tree. That is an avocado tree. That is where we put our manure. And this avocado tree has the shade, so at least we are sure. You're putting it under the shade because you don't want it to be destroyed by direct sun or rain, because where I come from, it rains a lot. And during the day, sometimes the sun is very hot. So you have to make sure that this manure is under a shade so that you protect it. It should not have too much sun or too much water. So being under the shade, it will at least minimize the amount of sun or heat and amount of rainwater. And then the reason why we put the layers, or rather the piles, it's meant to allow some air into that particular manure. So if you have like many leaves, many branches, and much manure, what you do the first pile, you do the green, and then you follow with the dry leaves, and then you add now the manure. And then if you have more branches, you start again, the second pile, you start again with the green manure and then the brown leaves, and then you add the cow dung. Now, like what I'm doing there, I said that is a mixture of chicken waste and cow dung. We have 2 cows, and we collect this cow dung from the 2 cows. So what I'm doing is I'm now adding the cow dung and the waste of the chicken on top of that, the first pile, the leaves and the branches that we have already done. We mix all this together because we are looking forward to get some.
Sarah, it's a question to ask, because that was fascinating to see, and your explanation was terrific. How high do you go? Like, if I were doing this, I would be layering it. I'd be raising that pile up maybe 3 feet. Do you do that, or do you make new piles every time? If I had new materials like new green stuff and new leaves, I would, after that, put the dung on it. I would layer that layer on, and then do layers. Just mix it up, and then I'd probably sprinkle some water on it in between those layers, so that it's like a wrung out sponge. That it's a little like this. So, have we lost Sarah for a minute? Well, anyhow, I want to just show you how I do it. She has the advantages that she has the cows and the chicken, which makes it a stronger compost and goes faster. I don't have those things, but I did bring in some of the things what I use. Here are some just green things. You see some brownish sticks, little sticks here from the grass, and there's just some green stuff. And all the green things that are not gone to seed, I will put in my compost pile. And I have a compost plastic container that I could do and then turn it faster and everything. But I also just make piles. I have a pile in the front, I have a pile in the back, and it works. One of the things about compost, you can't maybe control how fast it works, but it will compost itself eventually. And I'll show you the final product. This, by the way, is a dustpan. I didn't have a proper dustpan. And this was one of the things thrown out on my way to church, my walk to church. It's another thing that happens in the walk to church. You find things like this. So I cooked this dustpan. And so this is compost. It's not been, if I want to get it really fine, I could screen it and take out some more of these things or any stones or bigger stuff that's in it. But for most gardening purposes, I can just use it as is. It's fine enough. It's compost.
So how long between the time that you start a compost pile and the time that you get compost that we're seeing there?
For me, it's about a year. Mm-hmm. The time that the compost really works well is like June, July, and August when it's really hot. Mm-hmm. The outdoor weather helps it turn it. And in the winter, not much happens. The microbes sort of go to sleep too, unless you turn it a lot, unless you have something like manure in it, and you turn it a lot, because it can actually smoke. It can go up to 160 degrees when that's not a good thing. That can actually kill it. And I have here, Scott, I used to do this really quite a lot. By the way, my original email when I first got an email is Compost Gal. It still works, by the way. So this is you don't want it above 160 degrees. If it gets that hot, you better get out and turn it right away and get some more air in there and probably some water, because it's a live thing. It's alive, and those microbes don't like it that hot. You want to keep the live microbes there. And I just want to show you more of the stuff that I put in. This is some of my stinging nettle after I did an extract overnight with in a big pan. I do it in a big pan. This is a little pan just for what's left over. And so this is the extract is supposed to take out at about 8 hours, take out all the nourishment and the good stuff out of this. So I don't know that there's any more, but it makes wonderful compost. So that's another thing that it goes in. So I showed you a couple of things. And here in this northeast of the United States, we have a lot of leaves, different kinds of leaves. They have leaves in Kenya too, but we have these leaves. So I layer those leaves, the layer. Then I take my food waste, which I have a little compost bucket in the kitchen, and then I put the food waste in. And if I'm a really good girl about this, I would layer it nicely and sort of stir it around and then come and turn it every once in a while. But even if you're lazy, it works eventually. So I've been lazy a lot. So,
okay.
So And so what I have here also, I have just a few things from the yard. This is mint, and what's very interesting, I just brought it in and put it in a cup, but I see that it's already sprouting little
Roots.
roots at the end. Can you see those little roots?
Wow.
Mm.
Just by sitting in the water for a week. And so, and then I also saw, while I was gathering these other things, I saw one of the wonderful natural edibles called, let's see if I can find where I put that. Well, maybe I didn't put it. It's called lamb's quarters, and it's very edible. I think maybe it's here. Yes, here's the lamb's quarters. It sort of looks like what I think that they cut of meat, lamb's quarters. This is very edible and very nutritious. So I don't have much. I have been gardening very aggressively, but the things I do have been very, my field of the nettles and the lamb's quarters and some of the other things that I have and making compost. This is sort of basic stuff. And I would like to do some more gardening, but I have a lot of animals that like my gardens. So I've been very discouraged about it, between rabbits and woodchucks and skunks and possums and raccoons. They all live in my yard. And they have little nests under my porches and parts of my house. So it's been a little discouraging how to feed them and feed me. So
Well,
I don't know what to say.
Before we go on, I just want to say that this has been an interesting show, that we have seen the same subject, how it's applied in two different parts of the world. One, 100 miles? How far away is your mother's village from Nairobi, Sarah?
From Nairobi to my mother's place is a 9 hours drive. And you're driving at 80 kilometers per hour. And it takes 9 hours from Nairobi to Kitale, with a stopover in the midst of the journey, a place called Nakuru, for people to maybe buy something or take water or ease themselves. But it's a total of 9 hours drive when you're driving at 80 kilometers per hour.
Thank you. So we've seen composting from rural Kenya and composting from the middle of Montclair, very much urban USA, and it works both places, doesn't it?
Yes, it works because we have the beautiful, beautiful microorganisms that like doing this work. We make a big mistake if we throw our food waste and our compost in an incinerator or in a dump. There is an enemy, like in a landfill. It goes and it eats up the metals and it causes the water to be bad, and it doesn't do any good at all. But in a compost pile, it does wonderful good.
The reason why my mother has relied so much on compost is because she says it's easy to use compost, because once you put this compost manure into your land, it will take like 3 years for you to add a new manure. So you put it once and it gives you a service for 3 years. And when you put again manure in this soil, it remains a bit wet, like its texture remains so well and it's a bit wet. So even during the dry season, it can sustain some crops in it. And that is the best thing about this compost manure. And then another thing, like for us at home, instead of now burning the leaves, it's a better way of also disposing some of the waste, like those of the leaves, the cow dung. especially if you have a small space. Where do you put the cow dung if you don't have land? Where do you put the leaves? You have to maybe burn them. So instead of burning them, you decompose them and prepare manure out of it.
The other important thing is when I first met Sarah on this wonderful program we have every week, I was so impressed with the story about her mother doing this, and also trying to understand how some of the people in her area are, instead of doing this, which takes work, as you can see, it takes some work, are buying, they're using their precious money to buy fertilizer and to buy genetically engineered seeds that you can't save and replant and are not good for you. The product isn't good for you. And the danger is that Kenya will be losing its natural seeds in a generation or two, and already losing a lot all over Africa with the effort to, and the philosophy that everything that comes from America and the West is better than what comes from there. I'm hoping with this series that we're doing that we can see that that's not true. We have to learn from indigenous wisdom. And the West has gone too far in the technological stuff. We can use technology like Sarah does. She's better than I am at using it. And it can be good as far as it goes. But we really have to return the earth to its original creation of a cycles that work. Cycles that work. The spring and the fall and the winter and the summer. And all we humans have to do with composting is gather the things together and put them together. We don't have to do a thing about this. The organisms take care of themselves if we just gather this stuff together. So I think we end on that note. If you have anything more to share, Sarah, because this has been a very full program.
I think I'll advise whoever is watching this show to embrace use of manure, just in case they are maybe doing some sort of farming, even if it's planting flowers, because with manure, we are actually trying to also protect our earth. We are protecting our soil and we are protecting ourselves. So when we do this, it's not about us alone, but it's about even the common home that we live in. We are protecting this for the future generations. And
Okay,
I know that
some of us don't have manure and it still works.
okay, that is great. That is great.
Maybe it's not as good and as powerful and as strong as your compost. I think yours is probably, but I think I can grow things right here without manure. If I had it, actually, I've gone and gotten some chicken manure, and I've actually bought horse stables. But you have to be careful about that too, because what have these horses and cows here eaten? They probably have eaten genetically engineered corn and soybean, and so I don't know what that does to a compost pile. The little microbes can take care of a lot of bad stuff, and maybe they can take care of it, but I gave up doing that kind of going out and taking my car and going out and getting that kind of stuff. I just compost what I have around here. So, but thank you, Sarah. It's wonderful to be reaching across the world and showing how things are different and are the same.
Yeah, sure.